Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Talk Fridays. Jamie here again. Thanks for joining me. Welcome along if it's your first time tuning in. Today I'm going to be doing part one of a two-part Tech Talk Friday. I'm going to be talking a little bit about home theatre screens. So one of the questions we get asked quite a lot when we're putting together a design for a home theatre is, should I be looking at a TV or a projector? And how do I know what's the right size screen for my room? So I thought I'll break this down into 2 weeks. So this week I'm going to talk about projection. We've got our 120-inch projector screen here behind me in our theatre room. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of projection in a theatre room versus a TV. And then next week I'll do the same but with TVs and give them a bit of a rev up. The idea here being you can make a more educated buying decision. So obviously your room is your room and we want it to work for you. We just like to give a bit of advice to help you make the best decisions that we can. So projectors versus TVs. Why should people look at a projector in a room? Firstly, there's the obvious one, screen size. There's no TV out there that you can buy, at least not for reasonable money, that will give you a 120-inch screen. Now, to give you an idea of just how big this screen is, right, it's a pretty massive display. So that's a 120-inch screen. An 120-inch screen is a fairly standard or common size that we use regularly. 110, 120 seem to be the most common sizes. So firstly, there's the big screen factor. Now the big screen factor gives you that true theatre feel. It feels like you're at the movies. Along those lines, the way that the image appears to your eye. So in a projection room, the projected image comes over you and lands on the screen. It's not a bright light being shone from the screen back to you. And this feels to your brain very much like being at the movies, because that's obviously what you have when you're at the cinema. There is a downside to a projector, two major downsides. So the first one is they have a warm-up time. So they're not, with the exception of a few models, they're not an instant gratification thing like a TV is. The other big one is that there is a maintenance cost. All projectors have a lamp or a globe that will expire after a period of time. That period of time is measured in viewing hours. And most of the common models that you'll see around the marketplace today will go for between sort of 6,000 and 10,000 viewing hours. So you can work that out as to how long that is in your family's household, how long that projector may last before you need to replace the globe. Most of the globes or the lamps these days have come down in price quite a lot from years gone by. So not an expensive maintenance in the grand scheme of things, but a maintenance nonetheless that you maybe otherwise wouldn't have to worry about with a television. So now, if we want to look at what is the best size for my room, there's a couple of things that we take into account. So I've got a couple of little illustrations here to help me explain. So here we have Handsome Jerry. Handsome Jerry's sitting on his couch and he's watching his home theatre, watching his projected image. When we know the viewing distance, so how far it is that you're seated from the screen, we can then calculate what screen size you should have. There's a couple of different calculators or methods for working this out. If you go online, you'll find 2 or 3 pretty popular ones. One that we sort of rely on, a bit of an industry standard, is picture height relative to viewing distance. And it changes a little bit based on what you're watching. So if you're watching a full HD or a 1080p image or a 1080p projector, then it becomes seated distance divided by 3.2 technically, but we'll keep it at 3 for the sake of simplicity. Seated distance divided by 3 gives us the maximum ideal screen size. You can go smaller than that, but try not to go bigger than that. It'll get uncomfortable and you'll have to sort of hunt for the sides and it won't be a really comfortable watching experience. So we'll go back to my friend here, Handsome Jerry. He's watching his screen. If we assume that Jerry's room is 3.6 meters for the sake of discussion, 3.6 meters from screen to Jerry, that divided by 3 gives us 1.2. So now that we know the maximum screen height, I've got another little chart here very simplistic, but this gives us some of the most popular sort of screen sizes. So we can see that in Jerry's room, Jerry could comfortably look at maybe a 92-inch projector screen, maybe a 100-inch screen. 100 inches maybe just a little bit over, 92 inches just a little bit under, but somewhere in that ballpark. 90 to 100 inches would be ideal for that 3.6 meter room. So that would be good for that particular room. Now, if we assumed the room was a little bigger, it was 4 meters. Take 4 meters divided by 3, we get roughly 1.33. So again, we refer to our chart, and all of a sudden we can see that now we're smack bang in the 110-inch range. If you want to go up to a bigger room, you go up to a bigger screen. Now, there's nothing saying that you can't go ahead and buy a TV. All right? If you buy a TV, it will work in the room absolutely fine. Remember, when we talk about the picture height, we're talking maximum. Try not to exceed that, otherwise it will work against your viewing experience. So then we can talk about 4K. Now, 4K has twice as many pixels, which means the image is twice as clear. That's the theory. What that also means for our calculations is instead of the divided by 3, we can now talk about divided by 1.5, technically 1.6. What you can pretty quickly start to see there is that the screen can now be effectively twice as big. Now we need to start to consider other factors. How big is our room physically? Do we have enough height from ceiling to floor, above our cabinet, etc., to fit a screen that big? So there's a few factors. You want your room to look good, you want it to perform well. So when you're making your buying decisions, I guess this is the first part of the special is projection will be more bang for your buck. You will get more inches for your money. Most projectors with a screen of 100 to 110 inch will cost you about the same money as buying a 75-inch TV. So you can see that for your dollars, you will get more inches out of a projector. You do need to bear in mind that maintenance cost. You do need to bear in mind that there is that little bit of warm-up time for your projector. The last thing, and I probably should have tackled this earlier, a projector requires you to be able to really manage the light in the room. And this may be another big factor. You might have a really big room, but it may be all glass on one side and no closable door on the other side. And all of a sudden you've got a lot of natural light and you want to watch the football on the weekends. The projector's not going to be able to manage that much light in the room very well, and the image isn't going to look as rich or as realistic as you want it to, or as it otherwise could. So I guess that's the big ones. With a projector, you need to be able to manage the light. You need to be aware that the projector does have a warm-up time, and you need to be aware that every so many years you'll need to look at replacing that lamp or that globe with another one. Then, once you've made your decision, think about your screen size. Viewing distance or seated distance divided by 3 will give you the correct maximum height for your screen relative to a 1080p image. So if you're watching free-to-air TV, you're watching the football, you're watching Foxtel HD, that's all 1080p possible viewing. So you still want to work within those bounds. Obviously in years to come when everything is 4K, that'll change a little bit. But for the here and now, seated distance divided by 3 gives us our maximum screen height, and all of a sudden you've got one very happy, handsome Jerry watching his screen. So guys, that's it for the projection side. Next week, same time, 3 p.m. next Friday, I'll look at doing, no, it won't be next Friday, that's Good Friday, Friday after. I'll look at doing the same thing but for TVs. So tune back in, we'll have a chat about TVs and what are their advantages and disadvantages in a theatre room. If you've got any questions between now and then, hit us with them and I'll do my best to answer them next week. And if you want us to make any of the screen size approximation image information available to you, let us know. We'll make that available for you to grab. As always, give us a call or an email anytime. Happy to answer any questions that you have on projection and is it right for your room and what size screen you should look at. In the meantime, have a great weekend, be safe, and I'll see everybody next time. Take care.